Sir Keir Starmer finds himself in the crossfire as controversy brews over his cabinet's acceptance of freebies. Despite his personal decision to repay lavish gifts, his ministers remain tight-lipped about following suit. With accusations of hypocrisy and disarray within his team, will Starmer's promise of a government of change hold up under public scrutiny? The Labour leader's stance on freebie acceptance has sparked debate, as Sir Keir Starmer refuses to impose a blanket ban on his ministers receiving complimentary hospitality and gifts. While he himself took action by repaying over £6,000 worth of tickets and perks, including 6 hospitality passes to Taylor Swift's concert and a designer clothing rental, his cabinet appears far less eager to follow his lead. The public backlash has been swift, especially given Starmer's commitment to transparency and reform. Recent polls indicate that nearly 4 in 5 people, 79%, support his decision to repay the gifts, a strong signal that the electorate would expect other ministers to do the same. Yet, Sir Keir's refusal to demand repayments from his colleagues has left many questioning his strength as a leader. The situation grows more complex as key cabinet members, from Deputy Prime Minister Angela Rayner to Education Secretary Bridget Phillipson, remain silent or dismissive about repaying the freebies they've enjoyed since entering office. This includes everything from VIP Taylor Swift concert tickets to Kylie Minogue performances and exclusive access to sports events like Wimbledon and the British Grand Prix. Critics, including Tory leadership hopeful Robert Jenrick, have labeled the Labour government's approach as hypocritical, accusing Starmer of being weak for not enforcing stricter rules among his team. While some ministers, such as Industry Minister Sarah Jones, hinted at possible reimbursements or future bans on such perks, others have been more defiant. For instance, Commons leader Lucy Powell, who accepted tickets to major cricket matches and F1 events, has shown little inclination to return her hospitality perks. The issue has opened a divide not only within the government but also among Labour's ranks. Party grandee Baroness Harriet Harman has called for tighter regulations, urging Starmer to enforce repayment across the board instead of leaving it to individual ministers. Even former Prime Minister Tony Blair has weighed in, advising Starmer to rise above the scandal, while affirming that it should not derail the larger mission of his government. Despite calls for clearer rules, Starmer has been reluctant to force the issue. His decision to repay select freebies without addressing the larger culture within his cabinet leaves questions about his resolve to tackle the influence of corporate hospitality and gifts in politics. While Starmer looks to reform the registration of gifts and hospitality for MPs, the ongoing scandal puts a spotlight on the gap between rhetoric and action. As Labour pushes toward greater public trust and higher ethical standards, the reluctance of his cabinet to follow his lead in repaying gifts could prove damaging in the long term. As Sir Keir Starmer grapples with public outcry and opposition pressure, the freebie scandal has exposed deep rifts within his government. While his personal repayments may appease some, the wider refusal by his ministers to follow suit risks undermining his leadership. Starmer's ability to navigate this storm will be critical, as voters and political rivals alike watch closely to see if his pledge for change is more than just words. Will his government rise to meet the public's demand for higher standards, or will this be a blemish on Labour's promise of reform? Only time will tell if the party can shake off the taint of perceived hypocrisy.